Well, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're joining me from. I'm Reverend Rich, proud pastor at Bellevue First United Methodist Church, but I am not in Bellevue. I am in Bend, Oregon, and I'm filming at the brightest part of the day because it's the only time I had. So forgive the brightness. It's not the best for filming, but it'll work. And throughout this video, or maybe afterwards, I will include some other Bend scenes because this is a beautiful area. And I'll share that a little bit with you. So we are right in the middle of a worship series called Our Money Story that is about stewardship. It is about wealth and money, but it is about so much more. It is about the life of faith, and it's about our decisions and our values and our priorities. We began by remembering, and then in week 2, we talked about the importance of opening our hands and releasing. And this week we're talking about reimagining, and we're helped by this by the story of the widow's mite. And largely it's the story, it's a parable that Jesus is telling that you have one person with lots of wealth and they give a large sum to the temple, and then you have a person, a widow, who doesn't have much, and she gives, in essence, 2 mites, 2 cents, 2 pennies or something like that to the temple. And then he asked, which of these gave more? And the obvious answer, the logical answer is, well, the wealthy person. They gave $100 or $1,000 or $10,000 or something like that. And like many things in our faith story, it is topsy-turvy. It doesn't work like we think it should. And he says, wrong, not so fast. It is in fact the widow, because she gave out of her poverty where the other person gave out of their abundance. And it's a lovely story. It's a challenging story because it asks us, for starters, to contemplate abundance and scarcity, and asking, what are we giving out of? Are we giving out of something where there's no sacrifice, there's no real giving? It's just like, oh, I won't miss it, so I can give it. I think he's talking about giving in a way where we might miss it. But for today, we're talking about something different, because I think part of what Jesus is asking us to do is reimagine the economic system that exists at the time. So how it worked was that the temple, hold on, the temple, oh, I lost my train of thought. So, doggy walking by. We're going to hit pause for a minute. See, I moved a little bit. Excuse the interruption, but the light was a little better here. So in part, what Jesus is doing is asking us to imagine an economic system where the less thans, the folks who don't have as much, aren't required to give. In fact, the temple was supposed to be the one taking care of the widows, and in fact, they came to depend on the generosity of widows, because those with more than widows weren't giving as much. But there's an interesting part of this, and to help explain it, my mind automatically goes back to my soccer roots. I'm a soccer guy through and through, and I grew up playing and played all through the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And back even when I was at my very best, we played in a way where, you would pass the ball around a little bit, but then you would just boot the ball up the field to your probably biggest and fastest players, and they would run and catch up to it. And that's how we played the game. And I've watched old videos, and I'm like, whew, that is not good soccer. But at the time it was, because somewhere along the way, in the 80s or 90s, somebody said, I wonder if it is indeed possible for us to play differently. And so they began to develop a different way to actually play the game that was better. And so if you watch the game now, it's played differently in many ways than it was 10 years ago, 20, 30, 40 years ago. And the same is true for all sports. They evolve, and they evolve because somebody said, I wonder if we could do this differently. I wonder if we could do it better. And for today, when we talk about reimagining, this is what I think is being asked of us with this story of the widow's mite, but just asked of us as people of faith. One of the things Jesus does a lot is he says, it has been said, and he's always referring to scripture, or it has been done, referring to old practices. But I say to you, or I ask you, is this not a better way? Is there not a better way? And when he does that, he's doing reimagining, right? He's taking something that worked once upon a time and then saying, maybe it's not working that well anymore, and then inviting creativity, inviting imagination into the sacred process of reconciling the world and helping relationships. So I have come to believe that this is one of our faith tasks, is to look at things around us, whether they be our relationships, whether they be our churches, our systems within our societies, economic, social, justice systems, all of that, and say, maybe this served once upon a time. There's nothing wrong with it, but maybe it could be better. And so I have people coming this way. So I'm going to just go ahead and end the video, and I'm going to show you some beautiful images. That'll be a present. Less talk, more pretty. And but I want you to think about, and I invite you to think about the call to reimagine, okay? Bye.